San Diego is pretty amazing. We have talent that creates the visual animations for the Taylor Swift concerts. We have music composers. Their music has gone to space with the astronauts. So we have these people here. It's just they end up getting hired to go work everywhere else but San Diego.
Yeah.
So our goal this year is to highlight San Diego, made in San Diego productions, individuals, and really showcase that we're not just a destination.
Hi, my name is Jim Ellis, and you're watching Industry Insights, where we bring in industry professionals to share their expertise and knowledge to the next generation of filmmakers. We're here in the Film Hub, a co-working space and soundstage studio in the beautiful downtown of Vista, California, the film-friendly city of Vista. So, today our guest is Michael Woods. I met Michael a number of years ago working at another soundstage in Vista. And the thing that really impressed me right off the bat was the fact that he had a real big desire to see the industry grow in this area. And so now he has that opportunity. It's been fun to watch things percolate and grow here. And Michael is now president of the San Diego Media Pros, where he'll have a greater ability to help develop the industry here in San Diego. So, real happy to have you here, Michael.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, also, he's developed a production company called Never Forgotten Media. He's also a 15-year veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps. And after his service in the Marine Corps, he decided he wanted to train wounded veterans the skills of the media industry, and so they could procure jobs. So that's kind of challenging, I imagine, too, to adapting your training to all these different men and women who's gone through that. I know he's a very busy man. I was here one night at 8 o'clock at night, and here he is in the office, so I invited him out for some whiskey and had him join us out there. But he's not only that, he's got 5 children at home that he's responsible for. So yes, you can have a family and still work in this industry.
Yeah, it's an interesting balance. And some days you lose some, and some days you win some. But it's a great industry to be in.
Yeah, I love the title of your company, Never Forgotten Media. I was just thinking about how that's what you want to produce, right? Media that isn't forgotten, but also the other side of it is not forgetting those who have served in the military. So I imagine that was your thinking when you came up with the title.
Well, yes. So like really looking at the service, for us that have left the military, service never stops. So we're just serving in a new way. Mm-hmm. And what is the best way to take and give a call out to those that have served that weren't able to make it home, and then bring it into our client projects, like really create projects for them that are significant and that have meaning instead of just checking the box.
Yeah. So I guess that would be a good question to develop is how does your service affect how you approach filmmaking?
There's a couple of my peers and industry many times looks at different projects. Like if they don't have the resources, they're not in the budget, we can't do that. And I come with a different mentality that, as a Marine, we figure it out. We look at resources that we have available, and we got to accomplish the mission with what we have. And so many times we're doing that for client projects too. Like the funding drops out, and okay, what do we need to scale back? How do we need to still get to that finish line?
That's great. Kind of guerrilla productions, huh?
Yes, it's challenging, but at the end of the day, it's very rewarding because, as you know, our craft is the results of our relationships with our clients. So if we can't solve their problems, then our craft really doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. So when we're on set in a production, it's really solving those problems to get to that finish line.
Yeah, that's great. That is a big part of it, isn't it? So when you founded Never Forgotten Media, what was your vision for that company?
To get vets on set. When I was working with Wounded Warriors that were learning the media arts as an employable skill set, it was that aha moment, that pivot point. Like, there's a group of individuals that this gives them a new purpose. And the reality is, it's once you get excited about something and you're contributing to a larger team, then you find that camaraderie that you miss from the military. And then it ends up opening doors that you didn't see before. And it's great because about 75% of the veterans that I work with, that come into this model, they find new opportunities, and they use it as a stepping stone. It's a horrible business model because they don't stick around very long. So, but
Well, if you need a good set for a military film, we've got Camp Pendleton just down the street.
yes, yeah.
What technical skills do you focus on when you're training, these wounded warriors? How do you adapt these sessions to cater to their needs?
I think it's really finding out what their like skill set, so if you're an editor, you'd like to focus in and do stuff on your own. You work at weird hours. So for some people that are more of a night owl, that sometimes works better for them. So if you can't sleep, why not edit? Why not do something that's a little productive? Others like to work with people and just, talent resources and resource management, getting people where they need to be on time. So for those PAs, those assistants, they're really helpful on set, and just solving those problems. So it's getting to know that person and what their strengths are, and then filling the gaps of what industry needs. So if they need to learn some kind of software, or if they need to work on, learning funding budgets and stuff. The reality is that we all have to have a specialty. In San Diego, we need to have like a secondary specialty, so then that way when our client comes to us like, oh yeah, I know we hired you for this, but we also need to do this. Can you do that? So we just have to be more of a chameleon, but we still have to be really good at, one thing.
You're talking about a second specialty in the media arts. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, but one thing I realized from the military perspective is that a lot of the crew that I bring on that are veterans, they might not have a specialty in the arts, but they have this go-to, get it done attitude. And so when I'm on set and stuff is going wrong, just, cater councils and they don't have any food. I know he's going to go out, or she's, like, oh, I've got it. I can handle this, and just take that initiative.
Right.
And I see that as being a big piece that I appreciate.
Yeah, very positive, service-oriented attitude. That goes a long way in the film industry, doesn't it?
Yes, because I've been on a couple sets that, up in LA, and it was a completely different, it was a factory, larger productions are like that. And to be a part of the creative process, you got to be much higher up in that, the hierarchy. It's very different type of industry up there. It's who you know and who can you step on, but it's very competitive. Yeah. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about Media Pros. So you just started about 4 months ago. What's the mission and the core activities of Media Pros as of right now?
San Diego Media Pros is really, we're trying to unite crew, industry, and community. Our primary mission is to provide advanced education. So as professionals in San Diego, we really want to be that trade organization. We can learn from YouTube all we want to. We can go to NAB, but we need something local, because what's better way to network than to learn with your peers? Learn in that same environment, connect, build relationships. Because at the end of the day, it's those relationships is what really matters. We had the action cinematography workshop, drone workshop. We just had an audio workshop. We had presenters from Sony PlayStation talk about their Foley work for their upcoming projects. So most of our workshops sell out. And really it leads into that bigger picture and that vision that we want to highlight and showcase San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
San Diego is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
We have talent that creates the visual animations for the Taylor Swift concerts. We have music composers. Their music has gone to space with the astronauts. So we have these people here. It's just they end up getting hired to go work everywhere else but San Diego.
Yeah.
So our goal this year is to highlight San Diego, made in San Diego productions, individuals, and really showcase that we're not just a destination. We're also a production hub.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And it takes someone like you to have a vision in order to bring it to pass, so you can see things where it can be and shoot for that. Is there anything else that you see that we should be doing in San Diego in order to accomplish that vision?
Well, one of the things that we're tackling is, when I scale up for productions, of course, I go to my first, call my DP, see if he's available. If he's not, then I'll go to you. Like, hey, do you recommend somebody else? But we need to have a central list. And we have all these smaller lists all over San Diego. So that's one of the initiatives we're working on, is creating a credible crew type list that's not just San Diego Media Pros. It needs to be for all of San Diego.
Right. And that's a great attitude to have too, to working together for each other's success.
And it sort of pipes into that idea of really connecting our different parts of our industry. So, we get along pretty well in San Diego. So many times me and my peers will bid on the same project. And so if Jeff ends up picking the projects up, sometimes he'll hire me or I'll do the same thing. So that's the kind of industry that we're in when we have to scale. But we have so many subgroups that we don't cross paths. We're in silos. When we keep our head down for a project or something like that, we don't get out that much into different sectors of our industry. So we have AV, we have corporate, we have film, TV, entertainment. We have all these segments. We don't really cross paths. So that's one of our other initiatives, is to highlight the different subgroups or different meetings or different workshops that are in San Diego. And we're not trying to pull those all into San Diego Media Pros. We just want to become more of a hub, a trade organization that highlights, if you're an audio composer, then Alan, he's going to be perfect, and he's got a small group that they're doing amazing work,
Sure.
And then we've got animators that love to get together, every Tuesday night. And that we really need that hub to connect everybody.
Right.
We don't have to do everything. It's just being aware of all these different groups and what they're doing and making. Then when it comes time to pulling the films and the work together and showcasing San Diego, then the rest of the nation gets to see, there's amazing stuff that's happening in San Diego.
Yeah, consolidate the list so everybody, and at some point have one phone number where they call.
Yes.
And can get all the information they need to do any production down here. And, it hasn't been that long ago where we wanted to do a feature film, maybe 10, 12 years ago. And the general consensus was you can't do a film down here because you don't have the talent, facilities, or locations or anything. And but since then, things have changed drastically. And, obviously San Diego's gone through some changes and ebb and flows. In the 70s, we had all this production, or 80s or whatever it was, and then it kind of dropped. And so, we're on the stage of building it back up, and I'm thankful that you're involved with that and you have the vision for that, and to see some of these things get consolidated, I think it'd be awesome. So as far as being a member of Media Pros, what kind of benefits do they have other than the things that you've already mentioned?
So besides getting, I wouldn't say exposure, but just being available to other producers, to other directors that need to plus up on their crews. And it really comes back to that relationship piece. We can be on any list, but until I get to know you, your skill sets, your personality, then that's when I call you. That's when I need somebody to solve this problem for me, not somebody that I've got to spend 3 hours, going through a list of people, what do they do? What are their, unless I have a specific problem that's going to solve. So like an animator that does, so then I'll need that for that small project. But if I need somebody on my smaller crew in San Diego, I have a crew of 3, I have to wear many hats. So I don't need that specialist all the time, just once in a while. Besides the education, just helping the individuals learn how to take and market themselves, because that's one of the challenges as a freelancer is that, and I'm guilty of it too. I'll help my clients build them a campaign, get the word out if they don't have an audience, and then at the end of the day, I don't have enough time to market myself. Most of my business is referral based. So that's what I focus on, but just helping individuals, their brand awareness, how do they present themselves? That way, when outside agencies are looking at them, they see credibility instead of just somebody looking to get a job. Other resources, we have a studio map that's on our website. So you can go to a Google types map and look for your closest studio. One of the challenges that we have is, studios pop up and close, depending on needs that are in San Diego. So that's one of the resources. And then discounts. We have discounts for members that, for education, for resources online. And those are just a few of the items, in getting people together, obviously, we do have sync ups. So sync ups, we have mentors that come out during sync up hour. What we found was interesting with that is if you go to a networking event, you got to sell people. You got to interrupt the conversation like, hey, I'm Michael. What do you do? Whereas the mentor hour that we have now set up gives people permission just to come sit down and listen to the mentor, talk to somebody else, and put their question in there, like, hey, what about this? Or not even say anything and just listen to the conversation. So that's been an interesting initiative that's been well received this year.
Oh, so it's question and answer kind of sit down kind of thing?
Yes. And what's awesome about that environment is something comes up, like Nicole Franco was one of our last mentors. And it's like, you know what? Let me take you over here and meet you to Eric Addison. He's a part of the Premier Users Group. Let me get you connected with him and do that handoff right then and there. That conversation flows instead of somebody that's new that comes in, like, who do I talk to and who do I interrupt and, that kind of thing.
Well, that's good. Some great ideas. One thing it'd be good to see is someone put together a location list, because it's such a varied county.
Yes.
I mean, from the mountains to the beaches, there's so much here and variety of things to shoot, and abandoned buildings and different things. And if we had a list and then just brought down a bunch of scouts.
One of the challenges with those locations is those permits. And so on our studio map, we do have this city's resource for permit. So you can go to that map and then figure out what district you need to find the permit from. And that's a big task. And that's one thing we've been working with Guy Langman on is he's, the city's brought him on board. He's been here for about a year now.
Who is this man?
He is the Office of Film. So he doesn't have a film commission, but he has an office to really help build up this industry in San Diego. Mm-hmm. So Guy came and talked to our summit back in January, talked to and his vision of really getting more TV shows into San Diego, and like building up an infrastructure for that. He is from LA, so he's got a lot of the connections that come from there, but he's only got a small office. And so we really see what we're doing is to help plus him up, provide that resource to him that he can refer when people call out, like what resources, what equipment, I need a community. Here's one of the organizations that, I refer and recommend. Because like any production, we don't pull it off as a single individual. It takes a team of people.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about some of this new equipment that you're seeing out there now, the technical side of things. What's caught your attention?
Well, I mean, the biggest one, that's on everybody's forethought is, AI. how it's such a disruptive force. And I really see it as a positive aspect. I mean, yes, it's going to replace people's jobs, but at the end of the day, it's really, as a creator, we have to step into a world of learning how to utilize that tool. Because when we went from film to digital, the same thing, it was disruption, and people lost their jobs, and now we have digital editors, and now we have editors that are also colorists, that are also sound engineers. So it's an exciting time, really, because we're at this intersection, almost a collision of technology and storytelling. We can do so much with so little.
Right. It's a little expense, right?
Yeah.
And so some of these things, this is what you're promoting, looking into at the San Diego Film.
Yes, so we do have a upcoming workshop that we're working on right now. I can't name names or dates yet, but it's really looking at AI and how it can help our workflows. With my documentary, Unturning Steel, like all our 105 hours is in the cloud, so my editors are all over the place, and it's been an interesting challenge. I would say it's more of a cloud. Beta cloud workflow. So we've ran into a bunch of issues, but 5 years ago, we couldn't have done that with over 98 terabytes, footage. That's a lot. But with it being in RAW, to be able to go in and switch the camera metadata and adjust the color just on the fly and without having to do, painting, it's pretty amazing times.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So what do you see for the future for Media Pros?
So besides the workshops that we got coming up, we've got a couple of the sync ups that are pretty exciting. One of the things that we're exploring right now is, over a decade ago, we used to have what was called a production guide. It was a spiral notebook that would be published every year, and it had crew lists and stuff like that. And we're trying to envision how we can help facilitate that for San Diego, but as a collaborative, so there's input from all the different segments. One thing that we used to have was when that was released, we would have like a release party. And so all these different segments of the industry would come together for that one release party. So we're looking at how we can replicate that, maybe not at the bigger scale, but smaller and sort of grow it. So we're looking at like a showcase or made in San Diego that we're developing, and then that formation of, how can we create that guide? Is it digital or community based? So it's in the works. It's still ways away, but we're pretty excited about that. And we're excited about working with the colleges and the students that are coming into the industry. Because one thing that I've learned is that when I learn more by teaching and helping others learn, because they're actually teaching me about their workflows and how they're creating. I mean, we have some amazing creators that all their productions are cell phone based, and brands are hiring them, because their look and how they approach things. And so, as a business owner, as a creative, we have to be mindful of those and not just dismiss them, because YouTube, it came up and blew up, and that's when I came into the industry, and here we are, and now we've got TikTok, and we've got all these other platforms that have built up massive audiences that we can't just dismiss.
I think one of the most important things in my mind is script writing, because that's, of course, the basis for all production. Is there anything that you're working on to help develop script writers in this area?
Yes, we did have a writer's workshop a couple months back. A couple of the TV shows, they came down from LA. We've got one of our members, she's heading up the Reddit screenwriters. She's actually been at the Film Up a couple times for her workshops. So she's right now on Zoom, but we're looking at supporting her and helping her develop that. To your point, there's two things about any visual art: the writing and the sound. And the two things that are not talked about the most, it's almost like a pair of shoes. We don't think about the shoes until we don't have them or until the shoes don't work. And then, we're in pain all day. I was with the Veterans Writing Group for almost 10 years. And because of that, I was up at the Writers Guild, and that's where I actually met my wife.
Ah,
So we were there at a Veterans Writing Summit up there.
so she's a writer as well.
Yes.
Oh man, that's great.
And she does a lot of memoirs, a lot of journaling and stuff like that. But yeah, without that writing, your content is just blah. It's good writing really makes adds that polish to any production. And just like the sound design and sound production, without it, you could have visuals that look amazing, but everything else it's going to be crap.
Yeah. Yeah, especially for storytelling. You've got to be a good writer if you're going to tell a good story.
Yeah.
And I think, that can be taught. I mean, you can have natural ability, but I think you can teach people how to be good storytellers.
And it's not just for the writers. It needs to be for the directors. It needs to be for the producers. It needs to be some of the department heads of the crew to understand how that writing is, because we don't just write one script and then go into production and it stays. That script is constantly changing. So how can we fit, we run into a problem. We don't have the same location. Now we got to change things, or the actor is not able to pull that dialogue off. So how do we rewrite it? How do we make it work? And to have the foundation of what good writing is and how that taps into, because we could all write an email. Well, I'm challenged at it. It takes me 45 minutes to write one, but how does
You can use AI.
With my dyslexia, it's sometimes I'll misspell my first name like 3 to 8 times a day, and it's just like the most frustrating thing. But for that writing piece of like, how does it fit into a bigger picture, and the tone and the tonality of like what is not being said, but how do you convey that in the dialogue? Because the visuals, yes, they're so important, but without the writing or without the sound, they're just visuals and nobody cares. It's just, it doesn't draw you in. It's the dialogue, it's the writing that leads up to it, and then the sound that's on the back end.
It's all got to work together. Yeah, all 3 pieces. Oh, that's awesome. So how do people find you and find out what you're doing, and where's the best place to find you online?
So sdmediapros.org. I would top there, I would say sign up for the newsletter, because that you'll get the upcoming events that we have. We'll have a community calendar on there, so all these other groups that we're talking about and featuring. We're setting up a table for Voice and Videos, the garage sale on Saturday. We'll be out there just providing some shade. We'll be here for the Strawberry Film Festival and helping set up with that.
Yeah, you guys are sponsoring some things at the Strawberry Film Festival, aren't you?
Yes, so we have a green screen experience set up. So we're going to bring in Cover Edge and their production studio van. And so families and kids can come in and be on a news set with their composite of their graphics. And
so tell them what this company does.
So Cover Edge. So for CNN, Fox, all the broadcasts that need to get somebody on air, before the pandemic, Cover Edge was the go-to. The senator would come in to the studio and then get on with the anchor in New York live. And so that's their primary focus. And now their business model is now moving into digital media, corporate entertainment. And so with their new production van, it's 15 minutes. You come out, jump into the studio, talk to the director in New York or Florida, the producers here in San Diego, and the team, gets you live on air, does the interview, awesome. And we could either record the footage and send it over, or the footage is recorded through the cloud, and it's all cell-based, and so it's live to air type stuff.
So they'll be setting that up right in the parking lot here, right?
Yes.
And then you're also sponsoring, Media Pros is sponsoring all the AV equipment for the to show the films.
Yeah,
the
so
film
for the
festival.
screenings
Right.
of the film submissions for the Strawberry Film Festival that were submitted, we're just helping out with the audio and the visuals to take and do those screenings through the day.
That'd be great. So they'll be screened right here in the studio right behind us. And so come on out, Strawberry Film Festival.
May 26th. May 26th.
For more information on the Film Hub, follow us on your favorite social media at the Film Hub Inc. and visit us on our website at thefilmhubinc.com. Michael, great having you here.
Well, thank you. This is awesome.
We'll see you around.